welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Emily. Today we're going to be talking about my seasonal TBR. So this year for summer and fall I chose 15 books that I specifically wanted to read in the 3 months that I, in my mind, have designated the months in those seasons. And December, January, and February are what I consider winter. So now we're going to talk about my winter TBR. And it's just 15 books that I really want to get through, and I have successfully got through both sets of 15 books this year. So it just kind of puts books aside that I think would be best read in those months, and I focus on trying to get those on my TBR every month. So gonna go through them relatively quickly. I'm not going to talk too much about them because they will eventually be in other videos, but very fantasy heavy. I'm just giving you a warning up front. And there are 5 that I already do kind of have planned to read in December, so I will let you know which ones those are as we talk about them. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to say, so let's just get started. The first 2 books have not yet been released. The first one comes out actually in like 2 days on the 12th, I believe, of November, and that is Skyshade by Alex Astor. That is the 3rd book in the Lightlark series. I have read both Lightlark and Nightbane. I did read Nightbane like right when it came out, and I love those books. I cannot wait to see where she takes this 3rd one. And I just saw her post a video talking about how's the best way to say this? How the love triangle gets resolved. And holy cow. I'm not going to say what it is. If you're really curious, go find her on social media. You can find her video on that. But yeah, that made me want to pick it up immediately. So definitely will be reading that by the end of the year. If I get through my November TBR, it'll even be before the end of November. But then I have A Monsoon Rising coming at the beginning, I want to say, of December. I cannot remember the exact release date for that, and that is the 2nd book in the Hurricane War series, which I really enjoyed. It is a rebellion versus king and kingdom kind of enemies to lovers fantasy romance, and it does take heavily from like Star Wars. There's very like heavy Star Wars themes in there, almost like a Reylo fic a little bit. That's the vibes I got from it. And then when I did read later on that is heavily influenced by Star Wars, it completely made sense. So love Star Wars, loved Hurricane Wars, very excited to see what this book does. And I've seen some early reviews on it for people that I guess got ARCs, and so far pretty good. So again, very excited. We'll be reading that one again by the end of the year. The last fantasy that I plan on reading before the end of the year, because it's on my end of the year TBR, is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. My understanding of this is it's like a vampire real estate haunted house situation. They're trying to sell a haunted house. I don't know, they're trying to figure out why Violet has this poltergeist ghost causing issues when she's trying to sell this house. So it's Viola is the real estate agent and a vampire, and then we've got Fox, who is a medium, and he's trying to help. He's trying to help her get with her ghost infestation, but apparently he's also a shameless fraud and the godson of death. I do enjoy Olivia Blake's books. They do take a little bit of brain power, not gonna lie, but overall the stories are very good. So I'm excited to see this one. And this one caught my attention like last year or the year before when it actually came out, but I was waiting for it to come out in paperback to buy it. I don't know if it was reprinted because this says it was published in 2018, but I know it was like still only in hardback last year, so maybe it just took a while. I don't know. Next is a fantasy romance that I'm very excited to get to because I just finished Belladonna last month, and that is Foxglove. It's the 2nd book in that series, and this follows Signa again, but also I believe her cousin Blythe. They're intertwined with another, I don't know what to call them. One of Death's brothers, let's just put it that way. They meet him right at the end of the 1st book, and now there's going to be a quest that involves him, and Blythe is going to be more involved than she was in the 1st book. I loved Belladonna. I think the story was so fun, and really, it was just a good time. It was a great time for like an October read, and I think this will be a great winter read as well. I will eventually read Wisteria, but I'm going to wait till it comes out in, again, paperback. Another book that is kind of, I think, along the fantasy romance genre is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I've had this book for quite some time. It's one of the oldest books on my TBR. I did just buy it this year, but it is one of the oldest books on my TBR. And it is about a woman that is trying to find love, husband, in Regency England, but she only has half a soul. So I think there is obviously some type of like fantasy whimsical element to this. And it says that she has Can her relationship survive both her curse and her sudden connection with the least liked man in all of high society? Then she and her family may yet reclaim their normal place in the world. And I think he might be the love interest. So, very short book, so this should be a quick, fun read when I get it. But I think there's 2 more books in that series, and I think it's complete after that. Then I have The Curator by Owen King. This is one of Stephen King's sons. And I'm a little confused about what this book is about. I know that there has, like, it takes place in this world or this city that's on the verge of collapse because of, like, a revolution or something that's happening. There's this girl that's trying to find out what happened to her brother, like why he died mysteriously, and she's also trying to get a curatorship at this museum that is in the neighboring town. There's a lot going on in this synopsis, so we'll just have to wait until I start reading it to figure it out. But it just says at the top, a fantasy of illusion and charm where cats are revered as religious figures, thieves are noble, scholars are revolutionaries, and conjurers are the most wonderful criminals you can imagine. So this does not have the greatest reviews. I saw that after I bought it, but I've been wanting to read one of Owen King's books specifically because he did co-write Sleeping Beauties, I think, with his dad, and I do want to eventually read that too, but I didn't expect to just stumble across one of his books at one of our little hometown bookstores, so I picked that up when I saw that. This next one's a doozy, and I'm going to be committing to a lot of books if I like this one, but that is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. The first trilogy is, I think this is technically considered like the final empire, I don't know. And I don't know too much about it. It just says, Mist rules the night, the Lord Ruler owns the world. There's an uprising and a hero that didn't do his job the first time. I don't really know much about it. I knew like nothing about Tress of the Emerald Sea going in, and I really enjoyed that book, so I'm just going to kind of go into this blind and see how that goes, and if I do like it, I will continue the series, and I will continue the Cosmere and all of that, but right now, I just have this one, and after the first little dip into Brandon Sanderson's writing was extremely enjoyable for me, I am very excited for this. Then I have A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal, and this is also a vampire book, and I think it's about like a heist that there's these criminal masterminds that get together to try to infiltrate a society because something happened in this tea room. This tea room, I guess, is like an illegal blood house by night, and then there's a threat on her tea house, and then she does call in some of the city's criminals to help figure that out and infiltrate this vampire society and figure out what's going on. So I've heard good things about this. I think there's going to be another one. I don't know if it's just a duology or if it's going to be more books, but again, not a super long book, and it's YA, so hopefully it's a fun, quick read. Next, I have another first book in a series, and that is Nora Roberts' Year One, and this is the Chronicles of the One, Book One. I think there's 3 books in this. I think it's a completed series. It is extremely highly rated if you look at the ratings on Goodreads and Amazon. I picked this up at a library sale in the summer, and I've read a few of Nora Roberts' books. I've never read any of her fantasies. I've read just some of her romances, so I'm very excited to see if I enjoy her fantasies as much as I've liked her romance novels. I don't know too much about this. There's this sickness that spread throughout the world really quickly. Within weeks, everything people counted on began to fail them. The electrical grid, law and government collapse, and more than half of the world's population was decimated. Where there was order, there's now chaos. Magic has rose up in place of science and technology. Some of it is good, but some of it is not. So I think there's like this revolution that they're gonna like come up to try to buck the authority, because I guess like the cops and the police on the ground are, I don't know if they're part of the bad, I don't know. But they, I guess, start to move west in hope of better life moving forward and like trying to build a new life and a new society and everything out west. That's all I got. I don't know. That was really confusing, and I don't want to read you the entire synopsis because it's extremely long. But going into that one blind too, I guess. Then I got The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. I got this one and The Darkness Within Us, which is like the second book. I don't think they're like, you have to read both of them. I think they're interconnected standalones, but I saw the first line of this book on a video a long time ago, and this is what made me buy it, and this is the line. They've never found the body of the first and only boy who broke my heart, and they never will. And I was like, add to cart. So this is about a girl that I think tries to like woo this Shadow King to take over his kingdom, like kill him and take over his kingdom. That's pretty much all I got. And then the last fantasy is Five Broken Blades by Mai Corland. I got this as my book of the month box back in May. So this again is one of the older books on my TBR, And again, I think it's like a heist and a treason situation. There's 5 of the like most dangerous people in the kingdom are brought together to try to kill the God King. But only one of them can do it. I've heard mixed reviews on this, but I know the next book comes out springtime this year, so if I like this, I'll end up getting that. This is a lot of series to start. Oh well. It's story of my life at this point. Moving away from fantasy, I have one like thriller horror, and that is Stephen King's You Like It Darker. And this is his newest release, which is a bunch of short stories. There are quite a few, I think, in this one. 12 new short stories. And I do love these little anthologies he puts together because they're easy to read like throughout the month rather than sitting down and reading one of his books at one time, because they are usually quite long and take a while to get through. I can read like one short story every day or so. So I do enjoy these. If you have never tried Stephen King, I always have recommended trying one of these anthologies first, because you can get a little bit of a taste of the different types of stories he writes, as well as like his writing style. Keeping in mind that these are short stories, so he gets into them a little quicker. In his books, it takes a while for him to build up the world. But excited for this. I know he has another book coming out soon, I think I've seen, so got to get caught up on that, even though I have quite a few other of his books still left to read. And then I'm going to read The Women by Kristen Hanna. This is historical fiction about nurses in the Vietnam War and the struggles that they faced not only in Vietnam during the war, but also coming back to a country that did not want to be involved in that war to begin with. So very excited to read this. This is my second Kristen Hanna book, and I loved The Nightingale. I have The Four Winds and Firefly Lane as well by her to read, so she is an author that I want to get through her backlist on. And then I have 2 romances to read, and I plan on reading both of them in December, so not taking any of those into the new year with me. The first is The Second Chance Year by Melissa Weissner. And this kind of reminds me of a little bit of The Do-Over that I just read by Lynn Painter. But this girl has like the worst day ever. Like, she loses her job, loses her boyfriend, loses her apartment, all that kind of stuff. So a fortune teller tells her she can have one wish, and she jumps at the chance to redo her awful year. When she wakes up January 1st, it's the year that she asked to redo again, and she navigates this, but then begins to see like maybe it wasn't so bad that she lost her job at her boyfriend, and then she also meets this other guy and can't stop thinking about him. And I guess they kissed on New Year's Eve before the year reset. So sounds really cute. I plan on reading it around New Year's because I think that's just fitting. I bought it like months ago in the summer with the intent of holding on to it until the new year. And then I have Mariana Zapata's All Roads Lead Here. This is a grumpy sunshine about this girl that moves to this new town, and her neighbor is a big old grump and a single dad. That's all I got. Slow burn, romance. I've never read one of Mariana Zapata's books, but I am very much looking forward to it. If I like this one, maybe I'll buy some more of them. So that's the final book on the TBR. Again, very fantasy heavy, but that is what I like to read this time of year. My TBRs will reflect the kind of books that I like to read in those seasons. Summer and spring will be heavier on the romance, fall will be heavier on the thrillers, and then fantasy kind of is in all of them, but mainly in the winter. So thank you so much. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments below what books you're most excited to read during the winter. What's your favorite genre to read in the winter time? Let me know if you're excited for me to read any of these books and if you want to see any of them specifically in a video. And that is all for today. I hope to see you all in the next video.